The Phillies are projected to be a playoff team once again in 2025, but how can they be more than just that? Trea Turner could be the catalyst for this Phillies season. Let's talk about it next on the PHLY Phillies podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. And today it's time to talk about the often argued shortstop of the Phillies, Trea Turner, specifically Trea Turner's chase rates. Now, before we get into that, the one thing that I do want to talk about is I do think it gets misconstrued that Trea Turner had, quote, a bad year last year. Statistically, Turner actually was pretty darn good in 2024. He hit 295. He had a 467 slug. He was a 124 OPS plus. He had 21 home runs and he scored 88 runs himself. He also cut down on his strikeout rates from 21.7% to 18.2%, and his whiff rates did go down from 30 to 26. I do understand, though, that a bulk of that came prior to his hamstring injury, and specifically in the first half of the season. There was a reason that Trea Turner was an all-star last year. He was awesome in the first half of the year, specifically in the month of April. He hit 349 and had a near 400 on base percentage in the first half of the year. Most of that, again, did happen before April because he only played 2 games in May and then 12 in June because of that hamstring injury. The second half of the year is kind of where the dip started to take effect. He hit 247 and he slashed 247, 286, and 401. And it was really August that was the biggest problem for Trea Turner. That's where things really started to dip. He hit 250 over the course of the month of August, but his on-base percentage was just 280, and he only had 8 extra base hits. But beyond the numbers and beyond the box score, I think the one thing that leaves the most sour taste in fans' mouths, especially heading into the second half of the season last year, was a reversion back to a poor chase rate. Listen, it's no secret that Trea Turner's chase rates have been pretty darn bad since joining the Phillies. In fact, the 2 seasons in Philly are the 2 worst of his major league career in terms of chase rates. He's been in the 15th and 12th percentile in his 2 years here. The second half of the season felt like he was swinging out of hand more frequently, and it was pretty obvious when you start to take a look at his chase rate maps from a season ago. And when I say swinging out of hand, I mean not really picking up the ball, not really getting any depth, not really having the opportunity to see a pitch out of a pitcher's hand. I understand hitting's a difficult task, and you have such a minute amount of time to see pitch, react, make a decision, and put a good swing on the ball. Hitting is the most difficult thing to do in all of sports. But as a professional hitter, it felt like Trea Turner was swinging out of hand just far too much in 2024. So let's take a look at the chase rate heat maps for Trea Turner in 2024. And specifically, this is the chase rate heat maps for Trea Turner against the rest of Major League Baseball. On the left is Major League Baseball's average chase rate, and on the right, you'll find Trea Turner. That green box, I know it's really difficult to tell, but inside that heat map there is a little green box that is the strike zone. I promise you it's there. I know it's difficult to see, but it is there. What jumps out to me, though, are the above average chase rates for Turner compared to the league, specifically when it comes to down and away. So the 3 boxes that I'm looking at for Trea Turner is standing as a right-handed hitter are the 32, 26, and 16 percentages on the major league average compared to Trea Turner's numbers, which are 40, 40, and 18%. So above league average on those 3 locations, in all 3 of those locations in 2024 when it comes to chase rate in those 3 spots. Now, it's not entirely fair to Trea Turner because the map on the left is all of baseball, which includes left-handed hitters going after pitches that are considered down and in. But if you get rid of the lefties from the equation, you still get in those 3 locations 32, 26, and 17. It doesn't change all that much, and Trea Turner was still well above league average for just right-handed hitters last year in those 3 zones. But you can even take it a step further because I think there were 2 pitches in particular that Trea Turner really struggled with when it comes to his chase rates in 2024. On the left, you'll see Trea Turner's chase rate heat map against four-seam fastballs. And on the right, you'll see his chase rate heat map against sliders. Let's start with the slider because we just talked about down and away. When we just talked about down and away, it's down and away, particularly on sliders that Trea Turner, I think, really swung out of hand and had a difficult time picking up on. Again, that's the picture on the right. And I actually think it's worth noting that the 2 that are probably the most conversational are the 217%, which doesn't feel like a ton, but I think they're impactful numbers, specifically because they're not hittable pitches. And listen, again, I get it. Sometimes guys are up there on the mound throwing what looks like frisbees. But the 45% and the 33% and the 36% that you see above those 217s are somewhat understandable because of the late breaking action of a slider. I don't love it, but again, I understand the difficult nature of hitting. The 217% ones aren't even close. That's diving out over the plate. That's what's going to generate weak contact at best, and again, chase rate at worst. Those two zones are the ones that frustrate me, and I'm sure they're probably the ones that are going to frustrate you as well. Let's go back to the one on the left for just a second. The second pitch is on the left. It's the high fastball. Now, listen, you're probably tired of me talking about guys trying to hit above their hands and catch up on high fastballs. It's just not a successful strategy to me unless you're Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani. It's just not a high percentage pitch selection, even if that pitch does look enticing. Now, Trea Turner averaged 71.6 miles per hour on his bat speed last season, which was good for slightly above average, somewhere in the 61st percentile, but it ranked 121st across Major League Baseball. So let's go back to Judge and Shohei Ohtani for a second. They're both within the top 10 in average bat speeds last year. Also on that list, Yordan Alvarez, O'Neal Cruz, Kyle Schwarber, and Giancarlo Stanton, who seems to headline that list each and every year. So go up into that quadrant of zones above the letters and out of the zone. Now what I want you to do is take that one quadrant further up, the one that starts with 56 and 67%. That 56, the 267s, and the 47 are all well above league average in 2024 for right-handed hitters against four-seam fastballs. And all hitters, it gets even worse. If you add the lefties in, the discrepancy is even worse amongst all hitters across baseball trying to go after the four-seam fastball up in the zone. So the points that I'm trying to make here aren't that Trea Turner was bad last year, because outside of a really rough August, he really wasn't. But I think there's actually a lot more for Trea Turner to contribute in 2025 with better pitch selection. And maybe that does come from Turner moving to the leadoff spot like Rob Thompson brought up before. But selectivity, regardless of where Turner hits, is going to make him an even better hitter in 2025. Here's just a couple of numbers last year for Trea Turner in specific counts. In 1-0 counts last year, Trea Turner hit 423. When he was up 2-1, he hit 400. In at-bats that got to 3-1 and beyond, he hit 370. And in total last year, when he was ahead in the count, he hit 351. Now, of course, all hitters are better ahead in the count. That's just simple baseball. But Turner's numbers are insane when he's in a favorable count. And he can get to those favorable counts more frequently with better pitch selection. So it's no secret that the Phillies offense would get a huge boost from Trea Turner chasing less and being more selective at the plate in 2025.